The moment. In the heavens above the seat of government at this noon hour, the sun and moon conjoin in the sign of the twins, Gemini. Here is the image of the messenger and the child, for Gemini is the symbol of early youth, of schools, and of the incessant chatter of the marketplace. Yet the atmosphere is not one of open dialogue, but of a decisive severing. The moon stands at the very end of the sign, void of course and trembling on the edge, suggesting that an old way of connecting among the young is coming to a close before it can fully form its next thought. The prevailing winds are stiff and contrary, for the cyclic index stands high at 803, marking a peak of electromagnetic tension and dispersal within the collective body. It is a time when the pressures of the age seek release, and here it is found through the instrument of the state. Mars, the warrior of action, is entrenched in the fixed earth of Taurus, indicating a stubborn, unyielding determination to hold ground. The government does not speak this day with tentative words. Mercury, the ruler of this moment and of the press, is in harmonious aspect to Mars. The pen is sharp, and the decree is written with the force of a lance, a ban that is as physical and final as a gate slamming shut. Moreover, the planet Venus, which governs aesthetics and social pleasures, finds itself in a tense quincunx relationship to the karmic node of the moon. There is a moral agitation here, a sense that the pleasures of the screen, the vanity and the idle pastime, must be adjusted or sacrificed for a higher, perhaps austere good. One might see in the mind's eye the card of the Hierophant from the ancient tarot, sitting between the pillars of tradition, raising a hand to halt the uninitiated from passing further until they are ready. The nation feels a heavy paternalistic hand descending, seeking to curb the electric noise that is perceived to be troubling the spirits of the youth. What it touches. This celestial configuration does not hang in the air alone. It reaches down with a heavy grip upon the foundations of the United Kingdom, the entity born in the Union of 1801. Most striking is the transit of Uranus, the great awakener and disruptor of technology, forming a near-perfect square to the nation's natal Pluto. Here is a clash of titans, the revolutionary force of the digital age and the internet, represented by Uranus, colliding with the deep-seated subterranean power structures of the state, represented by Pluto. The state is moving to reassert its Pluto authority over the Uranian chaos of the social networks. The fear of losing control over the minds of the next generation drives this drastic legislation. Simultaneously, the transit of Venus in its benevolence conjoins the nation's natal Jupiter. This suggests that for many the ban will be received as a blessing, a protective measure aimed at preserving the innocence of childhood. There is a swell of public support, or at least a desire to believe that this will expand the well-being of the family unit. Yet this Venus is also uneasy with the nation's Pluto, hinting that beneath the veneer of moral protection lies a deep anxiety about the psychological and economic power these tech giants wield. The entry of Saturn into Aries earlier in the year is the drumbeat of this legislation. Saturn is the state, the law, and the restriction. Aries is the sign of the young, the impulsive, and the identity. With Saturn now freshly in the territory of the youth, the state assumes the role of the strict disciplinarian. The ingress of Neptune into Aries alongside Saturn clouds the issue with illusion and confusion regarding identity. For who are the young ones when they are stripped of their digital reflections? The Saturn-Neptune conjunction in the sky acts as a fog of reality versus idealism, where the government attempts to impose a harsh structure, that is Saturn, upon a confused and CN Mesha generation, or Neptune. The 8th house undertones of the chart suggest this is not merely about play, but about the deep psychic resources of the nation and a fear that the soul of the youth is being mortgaged to the machine. How it rolls forward. As the seasons turn from this moment of declaration, the astrology suggests that the story is far from finished. Indeed, the announcement is but the opening volley in a longer struggle. The arc of this narrative stretches back to the solar eclipse in Aquarius in mid-February, which placed a shadow upon the networks and associations of the realm, foreshadowing this break. Now the eyes turn toward the total solar eclipse in Leo this coming August. Leo is the sign of the sovereign, the creative heart, and significantly the child. As the darkening of the sun occurs in the sign of the child, One may expect a dramatic reaction from the youth themselves, or a revelation regarding the effectiveness of this ban. It is a time when the king's decree may be challenged by the princes of the playground. The energies of dispersal in the cyclic index will continue to rise, suggesting that attempts to bottle up the electric genie will result in leaks and pressures finding unexpected outlets. In the weeks immediately following, the transit of Jupiter forming a trine to Neptune in late July may bring a seductive counter-narrative, perhaps a new technology or a spiritualized argument for connection that bypasses the rigid walls the state has built. However, the square between Uranus and Pluto remains tight throughout the period. This is a long-term cultural friction. The government has planted its feet in Taurus, represented by Mars, and rules with the iron of Aries, represented by Saturn, but the sky speaks of technological upheaval, represented by Uranus, that cannot be permanently suppressed. Watch for the courts or the tech companies themselves to mount a resistance that mirrors the stubbornness of the initial decree. The ban creates a vacuum, and by the time of the lunar eclipse in Pisces at the end of August, the emotional and psychological toll of this isolation, or liberation, depending on one's view, upon the collective psyche will become the new focal point of the national conversation. Summary. This event marks the authoritative, paternalistic attempt by the British state to reclaim authority over the digital lives of its youth, driven by a fear of losing control to technological chaos. Regarding the backlash from the young, watch for a dramatic resurgence of youth-led protest or digital circumvention by August, driven by the total solar eclipse in Leo, which activates the archetype of the child. In terms of legal warfare, expect deep structural battles between tech giants and the government as the transit of Uranus squares the UK's natal Pluto, representing a fight for the soul of national power. There is also mental health ambiguity. The nation's mood regarding the ban will shift from initial relief caused by Venus conjunct Jupiter to confusion regarding identity, as Neptune in Aries continues to cloud the distinction between online and real-world selfhood. Finally, regarding technological adaptation, the restriction will spur new, perhaps hidden, forms of communication that evade the state's gaze, mirroring the leaks predicted by the rising, dispersing cyclic index. As the sower casts his seed upon the soil, so does the state cast this law upon the minds of the many. Yet the harvest will depend upon the spirit in which it is received and the unforeseen forces that move in the unseen realms.